Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to the Sunday Bhagavad Gita classes. So we are in the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, and chapter 2 has 4 divisions. And the first division is G. The acronym of chapter 2 is Gita, and G stands for Guru. So we saw that Arjuna accepted Krishna as his Guru. So previously, the relationship between Arjuna and Krishna was in terms of friendship, and now Arjuna accepted Krishna as the Guru so that he can take his advice seriously. And second division is I. I stands for identity. And Krishna spoke in 20 verses about our real identity. Our real identity is we are not the body, we
But
are
the
the
soul.
soul. And what did Krishna? He spoke about several characteristics of the soul. So, what are few characteristics of the soul? One of the main characteristics of the soul is Shashvat. Soul can never be destroyed. Whereas the body is the one which is getting destroyed. And Krishna gave a very beautiful analogy. He says that Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatrana mukhyati. So just like the body is changing from childhood to youth to old age, so similarly at the time of the death, the soul leaves one body and takes another body. So the soul is permanent, but the body is temporary. And in another verse, he gave a beautiful example of the old garments. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya. So when the garment become old, what do? We throw the old garment and then we buy a new garment. When we buy a new garment, two factors are there. One is our budget and second thing is our desire. So similarly, when we leave a particular body, according to our desires and according to our karma, we get another body. So Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna that even though it looks like apparently he's killing his grandfather and the teacher, but actually speaking, no one can kill anyone because the soul is indestructible. Any weapons cannot kill the soul. And we saw that the soul is invisible and the soul is indestructible. So these are all the many characteristics of the soul which Krishna is describing to Arjuna. Why did Krishna do all these things? So that he can convince Arjuna to fight.
Fight.
So that was the whole reason why Krishna was talking about the characteristics of the soul in different angles. At one point of time, Krishna also spoke like an atheist. Even if you do not believe about the existence of the soul, even if you consider yourself to be a body, it is just like a change in chemicals. Like a building, it is in an unmanifested state, and later on it goes to the manifested state, and again it goes into the unmanifested state. So it is just the change in the state, whereas like we saw the law of conservation of energy. Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can be just changed from one form to another. So that is what Krishna is also trying to convince Arjuna. It is just the state is different from manifested to unmanifested state. But otherwise, there is no cause for lamentation. So that is what he spoke in the second division, that we are not the body and we are the soul.
So,
That doesn't mean that one can kill anyone. So that doesn't mean violence is permitted under all conditions. Violence also has its utility. Under what condition violence is allowed? In the battlefield, for a Kshatriya to establish the Dharma, the violence is permitted. And the violence is also permitted by a surgeon. A surgeon, he might have to use the knife. He might have to do some kind of, it looks like a violent activity. Somebody is cutting your body. Externally, if you see that, it looks like, he is using a knife and he's cutting the body. But the purpose of such an activity is to save the patient. So here violence also has utility. So indiscriminately, we cannot just kill someone and say that, either way, I cannot kill anyone because the soul cannot be killed. That is also not permitted. So that was the second division. And the third division, T stands for two dharma. So Krishna is speaking about two dharmas. What are the two dharmas of the human being? One is Swadharma, the dharma due to our bodily constitution. So each one of us have our own prescribed duty. So according to our guna karma, according to our nature and according to our activity, so the society is divided into four classes. What are the four classes of the society? Brahmana, Kshatriya,
Brahmana,
Vaishya, and
Kshatriya, Vaishnav,
Shudra. So these are the four divisions in the society. And these four divisions are based on one's activity and one's
activities.
nature. So one has to do a prescribed duty according to his nature and according to his activity. So here, Kshatriya, Arjuna being a Kshatriya, not only by birth, but also he has proven all the skills to be a Kshatriya. We saw in the previous verses that how Arjuna was such a great warrior that even in a once there was a kind of with Shiva, there was a boar. Shiva was in the disguise of the hunter, and Arjuna was also there. And Arjuna claimed that he was the one who killed the boar, and Shiva also claimed that no, it was not Arjuna, whereas it was he who killed the boar. And at that time, they both had a fight, amongst themselves, and whomsoever will win the fight, they will claim the boar. So we saw that the Arjuna even could win Shiva.
Shiva.
Shiva is even greater than a demigod also. The Shiva's position is somewhere between, he's not a supreme personality of Godhead, and his position is not a demigod. So he has a position, he has a unique position for himself. And Arjuna could even won Shiva, and because of that, Shiva was very pleased and he gave him Pashupatastra. He has gifted him some special weapon. And even Indra, so in one of the encounter with Indra, also Arjuna could win, and he also gifted him some special weapon which can even help him to kill his own teacher. So Arjuna is now equipped with lot of skills and lot of weapons and everything. He has all the abilities to fight in this battlefield, even though the opponents are very strong. His own teacher is there. Bhishma Dev is there. There are so many great warriors on the opposite side, but Arjuna is nevertheless smaller. But here, under what grounds Arjuna is refusing to fight? We saw in the first chapter,
Compassion.
Arjuna had four reasons for not fighting. So the first reason that Arjuna put forward for not fighting is out of compassion, for which Krishna has given the answer already by saying that we are not the body, but we are the
We,
soul. So
so
the actual compassion, what you are doing is to the body, because he's saying Ashoshan and Vasochasvam Pragyavadamsha Bhashase. You're talking like a learned man. Actually speaking, you're talking like a fool, because compassion also should be shown in a right way, not in a wrong way. For example, today in the so-called society, if somebody says that, I want to show compassion to this particular person, and if you're feeding beef to that person, is that a real compassion?
no,
They say that, I'm feeding a hungry person. And so that is not a real compassion, because to save one person, you're killing another living entity.
yeah,
That means you think only the humans are superior. So that means the soul is not present in animals. So that is wrong. So compassion should also be shown in a right way. So we saw that how Arjuna was reluctant to fight and Krishna was convincing him to fight. Now Krishna is talking about his prescribed duty. He's particularly talking to Arjuna in terms of his swadharma. Being a Kshatriya, it is the duty of Arjuna to fight. Whereas for a Kshatriya, if he is not fighting, if he is not doing a prescribed duty, he will be committing sin. So, which means what Arjuna actually thought, that killing his own teacher and grandparents to be a sinful activity, is Krishna has opposed it by saying that you think by fighting you're committing sin, whereas you will be committing sin by not fighting. So here Arjuna is getting the answer for his
chapter 2, text 34.
No, just 31 to 33.
31 to 30. Okay. Chapter 2, 31, text 31. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should not you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
So that's what
Purport.
he's telling. No, based, no, not needed purport, but just a
Okay.
translation.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
on the religious principle, it is a duty of a Kshatriya to establish Dharma. So we
Dharma.
saw this word Dharma is constantly appearing in Bhagavad Gita because
Yeah.
Krishna is telling what is the actual Dharma of a human being. In fact, the very first verse starts with Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. So this word
Yeah.
Dharma appears constantly because here Arjuna was confused about Dharma. What he thought to be the right Dharma was refused by Krishna because Arjuna thought not fighting the war is dharma, whereas Krishna is telling that by fighting the war, only he is establishing the dharma. He had a wrong understanding about dharma. And here also we see in today's world also, people have very wrong understanding of dharma. So I was saying yesterday when I was trying to distribute book, one person was saying that, I don't believe in Bhagavad Gita and everything, he said. So then I asked, what do you believe? He said that I am an advocate and I believe in constitution. So constitution can get amended according to the leader, right? But Bhagavad Gita is the word spoken by Krishna and for 5,000 years, it is the same. So dharma is something that cannot be changed. What is the dharma of the sugar?
Sweet.
Sweetness. If sugar is bitter, then we will not say that it is dharma. It is not the dharma of sugar. So dharma is something that cannot be changed. That's what Prabhupada has repeatedly given through his book. The actual dharma of the human being, savai pumsam paro dharmo, yato bhaktir adokshache. The highest dharma of a human being is to render the devotional service to adokshacha. Krishna. And how we should render? Ahaituki apratihata. It should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. So that is the highest dharma given by Krishna through Srimad Bhagavatam. So we may consider this to be dharma, we may consider that to be dharma. But if one is not able to render the devotional service to Krishna, and whatever the so-called dharma he does, it has no value. It is only Shrama Evahi Kevalam. Only the hard work remains. There is no this thing. Like you have many zeros. So will the zeros have any value without one in it? So
No.
you may do so many activities, but if you do not have Krishna in that, that means there is no one. So all your activities has no value. Whereas if you add Krishna in all the activities you do, you have one. So then your activities makes the value. Okay.
I
So
just finished the text 32 and
yes,
33 now.
Mataji. Yeah.
Text 32, translation. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Text 33. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
So Krishna is talking about the reputation of Arjuna. He is a Kshatriya and he has a reputation. So he will also lose his reputation, and by neglecting the duty, he will be rather committing the sinful activity. And what happens for a Kshatriya? Even if a Kshatriya leaves his body in the battlefield, where will he go? He will go to heavenly planets.
Yeah.
And we saw that it is not easy to go to heavenly planet either. To go to
Yeah.
heavenly planet, one should have not spoken lies for at least 100 lifetimes. So it's very, very difficult for any one of us to even become eligible to go there and perform various pious activity. But for a Kshatriya, it is an opportunity for him. Suppose he is fighting a Dharma Yuddha, and by fighting, if he is dying, that is also good for him because he will be elevated to a higher position. So, whereas if he is winning the battle, he will be ruling the earthly kingdom. So, either way, a battle is always an opportunity for a Kshatriya. If at all there is an opportunity for a Kshatriya to fight in the battle, a Dharma Yuddha, That is considered to be a great opportunity. Whereas here Arjuna is considering it to be a difficulty. Why should I fight with my own people? He is rather thinking of fleeing the battlefield. He doesn't want to fight. Okay, we'll do today's verse. Bhagavad Gita, text 34, chapter 2. Akirti chapi bhutani
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि
katayishyanti te vyayam
कथयिष्यन्ति ते त्वयाम्
sambhavitasya chakirtir
सम्भाविस्तस्य चाकीर्तिर्
maranat atirichyate.
मरणात् अतिरिच्यते
Akirtim chapi bhutani
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि
katayishyanti te vyayam
कथयिष्यन्ति ये
कथयिष्यन्ति
व्यताम्
sambhavitasya chakirtihi
सम्भावितस्य चाकीर्तिर्
maranat atirichyate.
मरणात् अतिरिच्यते
Akirtim chapi bhutani
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि
katayishyanti te vyayam
कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम्
sambhavitasya chakirtir
सम्भाविस्तस्य चाकीर्तिर्
maranat atirichyate.
अतिरि मरणात् अतिरिच्यते
Who would like to do?
I can do much.
Okay, Mataji, please.
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि
Akirtim
अकीर्तिं
chapi bhutani
चापि
कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम्
katayishyanti te
कथयिष्यन्ति ते
vyayam
सम्भवितस्य चाकीर्तिर्
sambhavitasya
सम्भावितस्य
chakirtir
चाकीर्तिर्
मरणात् अतिरिच्यते
maranat
मरणात्
atirichyate.
अतिरिच्यते
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Thank you, Mataji. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas Swamiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatare Satarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here what is Krishna is talking about? So if Arjuna is leaving the battlefield, he will become infamous. They will think, what kind of person is that who is a darpok and who left the battlefield? And for a respectable person, because Arjuna is a Kshatriya, born in a great lineage, so he is a very respectable person. Dishonor is worse than death. So dying is better, whereas if by living, if you're dishonored, imagine everybody saying Arjuna that you're a darpok for the rest of his life. How will it be for Arjuna? Do you think it is will be so easy for Arjuna to live with that
No.
dishonor? It will not be easy, because even in those days, if they should not be killed, you know what they do is they dishonor them. They cut off their mustache, they cut off half their hairs, and like that. Even in some villages, we see the practice. If somebody has committed some very sinful activity, to punish them,
As a
they
punishment,
may
yeah.
not kill them, but they may, take half of their hair, take half of their mustache, and put some kind of, dots and everything in the face. That infamous thing is worse for them than the death. Even during the time when Krishna was kidnapped Rukmini, and he was going, Rukmi, his brother, he was coming and chasing behind Krishna, and he was fighting with Krishna. And Krishna won against Rukmi. But what he did is, because Rukmini told, please spare my brother, don't kill him. So Krishna did not kill him, whereas he dishonored Rukmi. He just cut off half of his hair. He put some dots in him. He puts this. And that dishonor was so bad that Rukmi, he did not even go back to his kingdom. He just stayed in the border because with that dishonor, he could not even show his face to his own people. He continued to stay away from the kingdom. Even though he was a prince, he could not go. So this is how, people are dishonored. And such a dishonor is worse than a death because you can't even
Death.
show your face to anyone, right? So Krishna's judgment. Mataji, please read.
Krishna's judgment. Both as friend and philosopher to Arjun, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjun, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you would do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So, you should not flee for fear of your life, better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So, the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjun to die in the battle and not withdraw.
Yeah, we can see that, Krishna is going little hard on Arjuna. So this is a conversation that is happening between Arjuna and Krishna in the battlefield. And Arjuna, on the grounds of compassion, he thinks that he cannot fight in the battle because what in case if he kills his own grandparent and his own teachers and his own friends and relatives. Whereas what is Krishna is telling that? Will people think he is asking Arjuna, have you ever heard any one of a Kshatriya who left the battlefield on the ground of compassion? Tell me one Kshatriya who left the battlefield out of compassion. Nobody. Have you ever heard in the history a Kshatriya who came in the battlefield and left the battlefield out of compassion? No,
No.
right? See, for example, if you're very hungry and if you're having a food in front of you, is there even a question about you eating?
Yeah, you have to eat.
Obviously, you will eat. You're hungry.
Mm.
The food is in front of you. So here, Arjuna is already in the battlefield. So when you're in the battlefield, that means you're ready
You
to
have to fight.
fight. And Arjuna is also well qualified warrior. He's just
Yeah.
not an ordinary warrior. So in spite of all these things, if Arjuna is leaving the battlefield, will the people glorify Arjuna saying that, what a great personality was Arjuna. He was so compassionate. He did not want to fight against his own friends, his own relatives, his own teacher. Therefore, Arjuna is so glorious that he left the battlefield. Will anybody is
No.
going to tell Arjuna like that? No. Whereas they will use very bad words on Arjuna. Darpok, they will say. They will say you are a coward. You are a useless person. You are not even a man. They may say you are an impotent person. They may use a very bad words on him. So that Krishna is saying, for that better you die. Why do you even have to live? You better die. Because here, another thing we see that Krishna is a friend
Yeah,
of Arjuna.
friend.
He's his chariot driver, and the supreme personality of God, it became his chariot driver. So it will be misusing Krishna's friendship also,
Friendship.
having the Lord in the front with him, and he is acting very cowardly. Then what will it will be a reputation of Arjuna as well as Krishna.
Yeah.
Arjuna will lose his reputation, and Krishna also will be called, what kind of friend did Krishna have? For that better, he is telling Arjuna, you better die. Okay. Even if you do not want to kill them. Yes, you are worried about killing them. Okay, you don't kill them, whereas at least you cannot fight very nicely and you can die. That is much better to you. At least you will go to heavenly planet rather than living with the infamous act throughout your life. So better you die. That's what he is saying. Yes, two things. Now, if he doesn't want to kill his relatives, his friends, then he can choose himself to be killed. If
Yeah.
Arjuna is not fighting with his full potency, then obviously he will be killed. Right?
Yeah.
So we see that here the Lord is both a friend and philosopher for Arjuna. So even though Krishna is a guru of Arjuna and he is instructing him in the battlefield, Krishna is also reminding him about his friendship. Okay. And people will call Arjuna coward if he leaves the battlefield before the battle begins. They won't glorify Arjuna. They will call him as a coward, as a darpok. Arjuna can better die instead of fleeing the battlefield. So Krishna is saying, okay, you don't want to kill them, better you die. For a respectable person, ill fame is worse than death. You can die, whereas you cannot live with the ill-famous act. Arjuna can better die instead of leaving the battlefield, and the death will save him from the ill fame of misusing the friendship with Krishna and the prestige in the society. So
Society.
thus, Krishna is saying, better you die to Arjuna.
Right.
We will go to the next verse.
Ji. Ji Mataji.
Bhayat ranat uparatam
Bhayatra
Tu
Ratu
paratam
Paratam
Mamsyante tvam maharat.
Mamsetya
Tvam Maharata
Tvarata
Esham cha tvam bahumatah.
Yesham Cha Tvam Bahumataha
Bhutva yasi lagavam.
Bhutva Yasya Lagavam
Bhayatranat upataram.
Bhayatranatu Paratam
Bhayatranat
Mamsyante tvam maharat.
Mamsyesta Tvam Maharata
Esham cha tvam bahumatah.
Yesham Cha Tvam Bahumatoha
Bhutva yasyasi lagavam.
Bhutva Yasyasi Laghavam
Bhayatranat uparatam.
Bhayatranatu Paratam
Mamsyante tvam maharat.
Mamsyenta Tvam Maharata
Esham cha tvam bahumatah.
Yesham Cha Tvam Bahumataha
Bhutva yasyasi lagavam.
Bhutva Yasyasi Laghavam
Mamataji, would you like to do?
Ji Mataji. Text 35 chapter 2 Bhayat Ranatu Paratam
Bhayatranat uparatam.
Mamsyente Tvam Maharata
Mamsyante tvam maharat.
Yesham Cha Tvam Bahumatoho
Esham cha tvam bahumatah.
Bhutva Yashyanti Laghavam.
Bhutva yasyasi lagavam.
Should I go traductive translation,
Yeah,
Mataji,
yeah.
or not word by
Word
word?
to word. Both
Okay.
word to word and translation.
Bhayat, out of fear, Ranat, from the battlefield, Uparantam, ceased, Mamsyante,
Namsyante.
Mamsyante, they will consider Tvam, you, Maharata, the great generals, Yesham, for whom, Cha, also, Tvam, you, Bahumata, in great estimation, Bhutva, having been, Yashyasi, you will go, Laghavam, deceased in value. Translation: the great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Yeah. So who are the great generals whom Krishna is referring to? Like Dronacharya, Bhishma Dev. They are all considered to be Maharata. We discussed in detail in the first
Yeah,
chapter, right? Maharata is
yeah,
the one who can kill, who can even defend 1,000, 10,000 people. And Atirata, Maharata, they were all different cadres. Like how we have like commander, commander in chief, like that we have different positions, right? So like that they also
yeah,
had this Maharata. And they are all having very high name about Arjuna, Dronacharya, Bhishma Dev. They think, Arjuna is such a great warrior. We saw in the childhood days when Arjuna was asked to target the bird's eyes, Arjuna could not see anything other than bird's eyes. He could not
yeah,
even see the bird also. So such a great warrior, which Dronacharya is also well aware of that. And what will they think? They will not think that you left the battlefield out of compassion. They will think that you, out of fear, have left the battlefield. If a Kshatriya leaves the battlefield, rather it will be considered that you're fearful of your life. You're trying to save your life. Therefore, you left the battlefield because you're afraid of death. That is what people will think and will consider to you very insignificant. Arjuna, coming from a great lineage, will be considered to be very, very
Insignificant.
insignificant. So, continue, Mataji.
Purport. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals like Drona, Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell.
What did Krishna say to Arjuna? You will rather go to hell. Whereas if you're fighting in the battlefield, two things will happen. Either you will be enjoying the kingdom, or by leaving the body in the battlefield, you will go to heavenly planets. Both are in a favorable situation. But now, by Arjuna leaving the battle, fleeing the battlefield, he might have to go to hell because he did not do his prescribed duty. The prescribed duty of Arjuna, being a Kshatriya, is to establish the Dharma. And this is a Dharma Yuddha. We know that several measures were taken to evade the war, but nothing could help. Therefore, this particular battle was inevitable. And under such condition, it is the duty of Arjuna to rather fight and try his best in the battlefield. Whether he wins or whether he loses, it doesn't matter. But he has to try his best to establish the Dharma by fighting in this war. So previously, in the regime of Aurangzeb, there was a commander-in-chief called Yashomanta. So he went to fight in a battle and he lost in the battle and he came back home to the palace. And his wife, she closed the door. She asked all the assistant to close the door. She was not even ready to see her husband. She said that what kind of Kshatriya you are. Either you should win the battlefield or you should fight until your death, whereas you just lost and you came. This is not the Lakshana of a Kshatriya. So she refused to see her husband's face. She considered to be such an infamous act for an Arjuna, for a Kshatriya, to leave the battlefield. See, in the battlefield, in those days, only two things can happen. Either they win or they lose their life. There's nothing called in between. It's not that they go and they lose and then they come back. If a Kshatriya does that, it seems like he is just trying to protect his life and he came back. So this is how a Kshatriya is considered. So therefore, Arjuna is supposed to fight. By fighting, he is doing a greater favor for himself as well as for Krishna, being his friend, by keeping up the reputation of himself as a Kshatriya. By
Kshatriya.
not fighting, he is going to cause lot of calamities for himself. He might rather go to hell and he will be becoming infamous. So why does Arjuna has to face all those things? So here two things refutes which Arjuna has put forward. Krishna has refuted Arjuna's ground on compassion and Arjuna's ground on sinful activity. So these two things are counteracted by Krishna through these verses. Okay. The other two verses are also similar, but we thought we will do two more verses from Damodara Ashtakam. So we will go to the Damodara Ashtakam. Any questions or anything from these two verses? Is it clear?
Yes,
Is there?
Mataji.
Okay. So we will go to the Damodara Ashtakam.
Ji, Mataji.
Okay. So how many of you are doing the lamp every day to...
Mataji, I am doing Mataji.
Okay.